Hey everybody, I'm Greta. We're going to do a Bible study together today, and our theme is concrete and cranes, which has to do with construction work. So we're going to do a little science experiment that has to do with construction, okay? So I have my nice toolbox right here, and I have some things in it. We're going to test these out. This right here asks, does it roll? So we're going to see if these objects roll, okay? When something rolls, remember it turns over and over across the surface, like a table or a floor, and that's different from something that slides, okay? Because when it slides, it stays on the same side and it doesn't turn over and over, okay? So I'm going to pull something out. We're just going to test these things and see if they roll. So first I have an empty water bottle. So I made me a little ramp with a book and a little box. So let's see if this works. And it did, yes, the water bottle rolls, okay? Now I have some scissors. Did they roll? No, they did not roll. They slide down the ramp. All right, let's see what else I can pull out. Oh, a flashlight. Okay, let me see if that rolls. Yes, that rolled. Oh, it took my ramp down. But yes, it rolls, okay? Let's try the hole punchers. What do you think? Go ahead and predict. All right, let's see if you're right. They slide. They do not roll. Let's try something else out of here. Oh, I have a clothespin. Talk to your parents or your friends at home and decide, do you think it rolls or slides? All right, we're going to try it. Remember, part of science is predicting what's going to happen. I have an eraser. Think about it. Look at what the sides look like. Are they curved? Are they flat? That'll help you know the answer. Okay, that one slid too, didn't it? All right, here's a ruler. Think about what a ruler looks like. Let's test it out. Okay, were you right? Now I have a marker. All right, let's try the marker. Wow, that one rolled a long way, didn't it? Glue stick. Now think about the glue stick. It's shaped a lot like the marker. It's a cylinder. You probably know that from school. Let's try this out. Whoa, it rolled off my table, but that's okay. Now I have some sticky notes. Let's try those. Yep, they just slide down. I think I have about 3 more things, and I bet you can guess on these. We have a pencil. Think about what you think it's going to do. That one rolled. A straw. Yep, it rolled. This is my favorite one. It's probably going to go a long way. What do you think this golf ball is going to do? Here we go. It's going way over there. I'll get it later. Okay, so the reason I did that is because I want us to think about rolling. And we decided that some things got a yes, some things rolled, some got a no, some did not roll. We could sort those into groups. But today we're going to talk about something in our Bible study that rolled, okay? Have you ever heard the story about Jesus being buried in the tomb and then they rolled a large stone in front of it? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So, our Bible study is from Matthew 28. So, if you want to read this in your Bible, I'm reading part of that. I'm going to go through part of that, but it's Matthew 28. And we're going to do some building. Since we're doing construction work, we're going to build something while we're doing our Bible story. So, here's my foundation. You probably have blocks like this at home. You could do this too. Okay. And these words that I put on here to build with, they're going to help us to remember the story. We'll be able to retell it by looking at the words. Okay, so my first word is Jesus because that's who it's all about, okay? So after Jesus died, there's our word Jesus, they placed his body in a tomb. Here's the word tomb. Do you know what a tomb is? Well, a tomb is where they buried people after they died. And in this story, it was probably a cave. And it had a large stone that they rolled in front of it. Big, heavy stone that was rolled there. And that sealed the tomb. So nobody could get in it, nobody could get out, okay? So we know that that's what the word tomb means now. That's an important word. Well, Jesus had some friends. One was Mary Magdalene. I don't know if you can see that, but Mary Magdalene. And then also Mary. Those women went to the tomb to visit the place where Jesus' body had been taken. If you remember the story about him being crucified, he died on the cross. And after that, they took his body and put it in that tomb. So they went there to visit. They were very upset because their friend Jesus had died. And so they did that. And you know what happened next? There was an earthquake. You know what? Has anybody ever been in an earthquake? I remember one time I was laying in bed and I just felt a little tremor. And it was nothing. We don't have a lot of earthquakes around here. But some places have really big earthquakes, and it just shakes everything and tears up things. And sometimes people lose their life in them. It's a really scary thing. So I know Mary and Mary Magdalene were scared because there's an earthquake happening. So there was an earthquake, and then an angel of the Lord appeared to them. The angel was dressed in white. The angel had rolled back that stone that was placed in front of the tomb and then sat on that stone. Okay? And the angel told him that Jesus is alive. Okay? And so Jesus was going to Galilee. That was a town there. He was going to Galilee to see his disciples. Okay? Do you know what disciples are? Disciples are like his friends, his helpers, the ones that he was with and taught them so much, but they were like his helpers. So that's what he was going to do. He was going to see them. Because he knew they were sad, and he loved them, and he loves everybody, but he really was close to these disciples, and they wanted to see him. He knew they would want to see him. So all this was wonderful news because Jesus was alive. The women were so happy to know that Jesus was alive. So they hurried to find Jesus' disciples to tell them this great news. Wouldn't you do that? If you had just heard this wonderful news, when you hear good news, you want to go tell somebody. The first thing you want to do is tell somebody. So that's what they were doing. They hurried to do that. And then Jesus met the women and he said, "Good morning. Go tell my disciples to leave for Galilee, and they're going to find me there." So he's telling the women what to do. So they looked for the disciples and they told them the good news. They shared that news with them. And when the disciples heard that good news, their message, they traveled to Galilee, to that mountain where Jesus told them to go. And when they saw Jesus, they worshiped him. And that's what we do when we're in the presence of Jesus. We worship him. And so they were excited to go. Those women heard the message. They took it to where they needed to take it, to the disciples, because that's what God told them to do, what Jesus told them to do. And so they worshiped him. And then he spoke to his disciples and he said, "Go," and I hope I'm not erasing the words, "go and tell everyone about me." That's what Jesus told them to do. Go and tell. And he said, teach people, oops, wrong way, let me see. Teach people to do everything I've told you to do. So Jesus told the disciples that they should tell people everywhere that Jesus is alive. And then he said, and remember, I am with you always. So look what we built. I'm turning it this way to see if you can see a little bit better. We made a cross. And that's what it's all about, is, Jesus died on the cross, but it doesn't end there with the cross. He didn't stay dead, did he? He was buried in the tomb, and then he arose from the dead. And he told people to go and tell others about it. That's what we're supposed to do as Christians. If you're not a Christian, we're going to have a video later that tells you all about how to become a Christian. It's not hard. And then as Christians, we're told to go and tell, just like those women did. They went and told the disciples what they had seen and heard. And that's, if we know the gospel, we're supposed to do that too. So think about that. And one thing that was very important in that, the promise, is in Matthew 28:20, and it says, and remember, I am with you always to the end of the age. And the verse right before that says for us to go and tell people. You might be called to go to another country and tell people and share the gospel with them. You might be called to go to another state. You might be called to stay right here where you are, at your school or at your workplace if you're older and work somewhere, or just even at Walmart or somewhere, and tell them. That's what God's telling us to do. Go and tell. And sometimes we get a little bit nervous, but that's when it's important to remember that he said he would always be with us. That's our key point for this whole lesson. Jesus will always be with me. So don't forget that. When you start getting nervous and you start getting scared, remember, he's going to always be with you, okay? So remember, Matthew 28, you can read that lesson. One more thing I wanted to show you. I picked up this rock from my driveway. This was a big rock. But what I'd encourage you to do is maybe go outside or go somewhere and just pick up a rock. It doesn't have to be this big, just a small rock. and maybe write Jesus' name on it, or maybe paint it or something. I know a lot of people make rocks and they go hide them somewhere so somebody else could get it. You could even write something like Jesus will always be with me. You could write something on there to be like sharing the gospel. But I just wanted you to think about this. When you see a rock or pick up a rock to keep, and think about that tomb and that rock that was in front of it, and that rock was rolled away and Jesus was alive. He lives forevermore. So, and like I said, we're going to learn more about the gospel message, and you think about that, and you think about putting your faith and trust in Jesus if you haven't already, because that's the best decision you'll ever make, and he's always going to be with you. And then if you are a Christian, you will live with him eternally in heaven. So thank you for your time, and remember, get your rock and think about what Jesus said.